Dawn of Heroes. Izuku was freaking out, and to be honest, could you blame him? After all, it's not every day you see your hero deflate into a skeletal shadow of himself. What? How? Why? I have so many questions. Izuku began hyperventilating, his eyes spiraling. All Might could only sigh before walking over and slapping the kid hard across the face to snap him out of it. Thanks. Izuku winced, rubbing his cheek. Don't mention it, All Might said, shaking his head. Suppose I should start with the obvious, huh? What you're seeing is the effect of my quirk. It increases muscle mass and subsequently physical ability. I can hold it for maybe about 6 or 7 hours at a time. It would have been 3 hours per day, but luckily a friend of mine was able to heal a few injuries I got battling a dangerous villain. That's a lot to take in, Izuku said, still reeling from the shocking revelation. How did an injury like that even happen? All Might sighed as he lifted up his shirt, revealing a crater-like scar that stretched across the left side of his torso. Izuku could only cringe at the sight of such a gruesome wound. Ugly, isn't it? 5 years ago, this had my guts spilling out of it. I was in a fight with the villain to end all villains. I still won, but it nearly cost me my life. Luckily, I was backed up by a few friends, one of them being Sister Sage. Izuku perked up. Sister Sage? Do you mean Tsunade Senju? She practically has one of the best healing-type quirks around, and is able to combine that with her physical abilities to generate unrivaled strength. All Might chuckled. Wow, you really do know your stuff. I'm going to take a wild guess and say you got a sketch of her in one of your journals? Yeah, Volume 5, to be exact. Izuku beamed before realizing something. Wait, you said you got that injury 5 years ago, right? Was it the fight with Toxic Chainsaw? All Might blinked, but laughed softly and shook his head. Nah, that lowlife couldn't even hope to deal this kind of damage to me. Sure, he got some hits in, but I've faced far tougher. The skeletal symbol of peace then sighed. No, my boy, this was actually a fight most of the world never even heard of. A villain known only to me and a select few individuals. Even among the top personnel of the Heroics Committee, it's a closely guarded secret. Izuku looked deep in thought. I guess even the symbol of peace can feel fear. That's the mark of being a hero, smiling even through the tough times. It's not an easy job, I'll give you that, All Might said. And please, when I'm like this, just call me Tashinori Yagi. Wow, on a real name basis with All Might. Izuku breathed. This has to be a dream. Well, enough about me, what about you? Tashinori asked. I saw you floating earlier to give me back the bottles, and you obviously did something to knock the sludge villain out when he attacked you. Izuku rubbed the back of his head. Well, about that. This is kind of my own big secret. Izuku then proceeded to explain to Tashinori about how he got his powers. From eating the fruit of the devil to being trained by Silver's Rayleigh, to all the skills he had picked up along the way. I heard from Rayleigh about a wide-eyed kid he was training who had great power pushed onto him by fate. Tashinori noted. Can't believe that kid is you. Wait, you know Rayleigh-sensei? Izuku asked. The old geezer trained me too, kid. Tashinori chuckled. You know, you seem like just the kind of guy I'd entrust something very important to, but I figure you've got everything handled with what you have now. Izuku was now confused. What do you mean? Tashinori was about to explain when an explosion suddenly went off on the other side of the district. Confused, Tashinori checked his pockets to see the bottles holding the sludge villain were still safely holstered. Guess villainy never rests in this town. Tashinori sighed before buffing back up into his All Might form. Don't worry, young Midoriya, I still have plenty of time. Wait, let me come with you, Izuku said. I don't know why, but I feel like I need to be there too. All Might nodded and quickly leaped off. Izuku, stealing his nerves, jumped over the railings and began free-falling off the side of the building before transforming with the bird fruit, model falcon, and flying after the symbol of peace. Super Alloy Darkshine, having gotten sidetracked from chasing the sludge villain after All Might showed up, had decided to resume patrolling to make sure no other crimes were going on in the area. Of course, he was lucky or rather unlucky enough to run into a crime in progress right now. One that was giving even a seasoned pro like him a hard time. Haha, you puny heroes can't beat me. I'm invincible. The villain in question was a truly repulsive man. He was bald and stood at over 8 feet tall, with dark green-blue skin and glowing yellow eyes. This was Gus the Ogre, a B-rank villain who had amassed quite a reputation and was responsible for felony assault, several counts of rape, larceny, and murder. His quirk, Ogre Arms, gave him 12 arms, 3 on his left, 3 on his right, and 6 coming out of his back. Izuku and All Might both arrived at the scene of the crime. Other heroes were there, including Death Arms, Backdraft, Kimui Woods, Metal Bat, and Mount Lady. Metal Bat looked to be nursing a head wound, with Kimui Woods checking up on him, while Death Arms was trying to see a way through the flames that had formed in the chaos. "We need to do something," Metal Bat said, getting up despite his bleeding head. "He's going to kill that kid otherwise." Izuku perked up and turned to see Hilda, a worried look on her face. The two friends rushed over to each other, wanting to make sure they were okay. "Hilda, what are you doing here?" "I should ask you the same thing. I was with my girls when we heard explosions going on and went to see another villain attack happening. Wanted to get a better idea of what was going on." The two friends moved through the crowds to get a better look at Gu, who had turned around just in time for them to see Katsuki Bakugo, a one-time childhood friend to someone whom Izuku heavily disliked, trapped within the villain, struggling to get out of the villain's ironclad grip. What really caught Izuku and Hilda's eyes was the look on his face. No longer an expression of arrogance and contempt, but filled with desperation, fear, and pain, begging for someone to help him. Neither Izuku nor Hilda even thought about what they were going to do next. As if possessed, the two dashed out of the crowds and toward Gus, who was wrestling with Super Alloy Darkshine, the latter trying to free Katsuki from his hold. All Might had been prepared to jump into the fray when he saw Izuku and Hilda running toward Gus, who noticed them approaching and sneered as the heroes tried to stop them. "Get back here. It's too dangerous." Death Arms called out, too shocked to reach and grab them. Izuku and Hilda, at speeds that could rival seasoned ninjas, leaped into the air, appearing above Gus, as Hilda raised her leg and delivered a powerful axe kick to his head, while Izuku stretched his leg with the gum fruit to kick Gus in the face, giving Super Alloy Darkshine a chance to push back and make a grab for Katsuki. The explosive blonde, as he was being pulled away, looked shocked seeing Izuku and Hilda rushing the villain without hesitation or fear. Hilda then gracefully backflipped through the air and landed on her feet as Izuku dashed back to her side, both teens glaring at Gus as he regained his composure. "You brats shouldn't have gotten in my way. Now I'm gonna fucking kill the green-haired prick and fuck the bitch's dead body." "Wow, do you practice being disgusting?" Hilda asked, wrinkling her nose. Like a raging bull, Gus charged forward and delivered a rapid-fire barrage of blows with all of his fists. The force of his punches was so great, it kicked up a dust cloud as red splattered across the villain's vision, thinking he had just eviscerated the two youths. "No!" Kamui Woods cried in fury and sorrow as he prepared to send a tree trunk-like spear from his arm to attack the villain before something amazing happened. Gus suddenly screamed in agony, his once arrogant face filled with shock and pain as he stumbled back, looking at his hands, or what used to be them. Now all the once lethal weapons were a bunch of bloody, gushing stumps. "My hands! Oh my God, my hands!" As the dust cloud settled, everyone gazed in awe to see Izuku standing protectively in front of Hilda, his entire body covered in pure diamonds via the Twinkle Twinkle fruit. "You know I could have dodged that, right?" Hilda playfully said with a smirk as Izuku gave her a dry look through his diamond face. All right, but at least let me get a crack at him. He's all yours." Hilda grinned playfully as she dashed forward and reared her leg back, covering it in armament hockey, having also managed to learn the ancient spiritual art and used it to kick Gus right in his groin. A sickening crack echoed through the district as every male in the nearby vicinity winced and unconsciously protected their privates. Gus fell to his knees, unable to clutch his devastated nuts since he no longer had any hands. His cheeks then bulged before he spat up an iron ball that Hilda quickly backed away from. "You Bitch! Gus choked out before a sudden impact, slamming down nearby, alerted everyone. You kids are the craziest I've ever seen. All Might laughed. Not just anyone would rush headlong into danger like that, and overwhelm a dangerous villain so casually. The symbol of peace then rushed forward, Gus shedding tears of terror and pain as he could do nothing to stop the incoming fist heading his way. Detroit Smash. With a massive punch, he created a shockwave tornado that sent Gus blasting into a nearby building like a gunshot and buried by the subsequent rubble. A sudden rainfall occurred, created by the tornado when it caused the clouds to move. Whoa! I had no idea All Might was strong enough to change the weather. Hilda whistled. Izuku's mind was racing. Not even improving one's muscle mass and physical strength could account for what All Might had just done. There was another force at work here. Still, with a smile on his face and his fist raised to the heavens, All Might was able to reassure the people that the danger had passed, as the onlookers cheered. You idiots! Death Arm scolded while Kimui Woods and Metal Bat stood next to him. There was no reason for you to risk your lives like that. Still, that took major balls. Metal Bat said, it would have been a bit tough for us to handle a guy like him. Even Super Alloy Darkshine was having a hard time until you two came along. Well, that does have a point, Death Arms said in a conspiring tone. With skills like those, the two of you will go pro in no time. And listen, hit up my agency if you two want to learn some efficient punching and grappling styles. Nah, I'm good. Hilda shrugged. I already have some good teachers. Izuka nodded. Same. Hey, Kimui Wood said, slapping the back of his hand onto Death Arm's chest. If anything, those two should come to my agency. Their skills can complement mine perfectly, and the green-haired kid can learn some restraining tricks. Metal Bat rolled his eyes as his colleagues ended up arguing with each other, letting Izuku and Hilda feel better already. The heroes had to put up the act of setting the law down, even if the two teens had helped to avoid other people from having the wrong idea and leading to vigilantism. With everything looking to be cleaned up, Izuku and Hilda decided to head home. Izuku sighed as he sent a quick text to Rayleigh to inform him that he might not be able to make it to training today. Ugh, guess I gotta cancel my training day too. Hilda groaned, having gotten some taiyaki for herself and Izuku to share. Oi, Deku. The two turned to see Katsuki glaring at them, but what surprised them was that his gaze seemed more subdued than normal. I didn't need your help, you know. I could have easily handled that creep. Sure, Bakugu, sure, Hilda said dryly with a smirk. Katsuki opened his mouth to retort, but then closed it as he turned and sulked off, his hands in his pockets. Izuku frowned as he watched his former friend leave. Something told him that this experience had changed the explosive blonde in more ways than one. Not by much, but any change, no matter how small, counted. Come on, let's head on home and see if I can whip your, but it's Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Hilda grinned as the two friends began to turn a corner. Only, I am here. All Might. Izuku gasped in shock as Hilda nearly fell on her ass as well. What are you doing here? Holy crap, is that literally All Might? Hilda gawked. And wait, why are you sounding like you've met him before? I actually wanted to speak with you kids. All Might laughed. And, young Midoriya, I know you've already seen my secret, but your friend here, best have her be prepared. Prepared for what? Hilda asked. As if to answer her question, All Might deflated in a puff of smoke, turning back into Toshinori Yagi. Hilda's jaw dropped literally to the floor when she saw the symbol of peace turn into a skeletal state. It's a long story, Izuku said weakly to his friend. After Hilda had gotten over the shock, Toshinori took her and Izuku to a place away from prying eyes before speaking to them. Izuku and Toshinori had filled in Hilda on how their first meeting went before Toshinori got to the main subject at hand. By now I'm sure you've realized a simple quirk alone cannot accomplish what I did today. I normally wouldn't be saying this, but there's a reason I'm explaining everything. You see, 5 years ago, I decided to contemplate retirement. Retirement. The symbol of peace. Izuku and Hila screamed in unison as Toshinori plugged his ears, having expected that response. The villain who nearly ended my career and life is one that has been fought before, and only I have ever come close to truly ending his threat. But my closest friends and allies have warned me that he may not be gone for good, and I only just barely survived against him the first time, even with help. Tashinori explained as he sighed, which means I need to pass the torch so that my successor might have greater success. And why are you telling us all this? Hilda asked. Young Midoriya told me about his powers, and though he has what it takes, I feel like what I'm offering would be too much. So, young Yakasani, I was wondering if you, from your actions alongside Midoriya, would like the honor of being my successor and inheriting my true power. Is it you were going to tell me earlier before the villain attack distracted us? Izuku asked as Tashinori nodded. There are stories behind every hero, how they become great, rising up from adversity, or just finding a reason to fight evil. But most have one thing in common. Their bodies moved before they could have a chance to think. Tell me something. Did either of you think when you raced to save that boy? Izuku and Hilda shook their heads. No, it was all purely instinct. Bakuga may not be our friend, but we couldn't let him die. Hilda said, the only thoughts we did have were how we were going to distract that villain so Super Alloy Darkshine could get Bakuga away from him. Izuku added. Tashinori smiled. I thought so. I saw your eyes, only seeing forward, towards your intended path. I need someone to take up my mantle when I retire, and I think you'd both make the perfect heroes to do so. But I thought only I was the one you wanted me to inherit whatever true power you have. Hilda pointed out. Tashinori chuckled. I can have more than one successor, my girl. One who can continue carrying the power I currently wield when I inevitably retire, and another who can properly represent the virtues of heroism and justice. That means two symbols. Izuku noted. I guess it's probably for the best that there be more than one symbol society can look up to. That's exactly it, my boy. There needs to be more than one symbol, not just a symbol of peace. Tashinori smiled. And believe it or not, I was born quirkless. The power I gained is from another who inherited it themselves as well. The strength I have is my own power, alongside the power of 7 predecessors. All Might used to be quirkless. Izuku and Hilda gawked. Tashinori just shook his head playfully at the two teens' reaction before holding out his palm, glowing energy coming from it. The name of this power, this ultimate quirk, is One for All. Training months. Izuku and Hilda had to wonder if they were dreaming. Neither of them had heard of a power that could be passed from one person to another. But it was clear that whatever the energy in Tashinori's hand was, it had nothing to do with increasing muscle mass. Look at your faces. Tashinori laughed playfully before pausing. Wow, I'm acting just like Sensei did when she first offered the power to me. This is crazy. And you think I could be worthy of this power? Hilda asked in amazement. Tashinori nodded. Don't worry, young Yakasani, I won't force this on you. It's your choice to do it or not. But if you accept, both a great honor and a heavy burden will be passed on to you. Well, guess it's a good thing she's got someone to help her carry it. Izuku smiled, making Hilda blush. And you're saying nobody knows about this power? Actually, some of the upper echelons of the Heroics Committee are aware, but only the trustworthy ones. You all know how shady some organizations can be. After all, Tashinori said. A few trusted doctors, some members of my agency, and quite a few pro-heroes who I trust with my life. In total, I'd say at least 1% of Japan's total population knows about One for All. That's still a pretty big number if we're doing mathematics, Hilda noted. Still, there must be a lot of people you trust if that's the case. In all honesty, I could have given this power to either one of you from your actions alone, Tashinori said. You both jumped into action while the rest of us stood idly by. While one of the world's best heroes was helpless to do anything but hold the enemy off. You acted like true heroes out there, a rare attribute in our current society. Hilda put a finger to her chin. While my quirk, optimal condition, is a mutant type that keeps my body in a perfect state of health. I've been able to regenerate from scratches, cuts, and bruises. I've almost never gotten sick, and I think I remember getting burnt once, but easily shrugging it off. Quite the useful quirk for someone who wants to rush into the thick of it. Tashinori chuckled. Yeah, but I had to train my body. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to stand alongside Izuku and becoming a hero, Hilda said, draping an arm over her green-haired friend's shoulder. When we first met, we just clicked together. Izuku even helped me out with my own training. You two definitely seem attached at the hip. Tashinori smiled. What about my offer? Do you accept it? Hilda shrugged. I've learned haki, rokushiki, and even a bit of fishman karate. What's a nice power boost from All Might to tie it all together? Tashinori smiled. No reluctance. Heh, you remind me of myself when I was your age. Before we begin, you should know that one for all could tear apart whoever inherits it. But considering all the work you and young Midoriya have put in together, especially if what I've learned about you both training under Rayleigh is true, then that shouldn't be an issue. Hilda looked at her slender body and pouted a little, which went unnoticed by Izuku and Tashinori. Her quirk kept her body completely healthy, but it didn't necessarily mean she had to be so darn skinny. I think I have my own idea on how to bulk up for this new power I'm being given. Tashinori brought Izuku and Hilda to Dagoba Municipal Beach Park, which was completely filthy and covered in trash. Get ready, kids. We're about to get into some serious training, so you both can be ready for the UA High entrance exams. Tashinori said. Well, let's do this. Hilda said, pumping her fist in the air. Let's not waste any time then. Tashinori said as he buffed up into his All Might form and plucked a strand of hair from his head. Now eat this. A what? Hilda awkwardly asked as she and Izuku stared at the presented hair. In order to inherit, one for all, you must ingest the current torch holder's DNA. Hair is the least disgusting part of the human body you can digest. All Might explained. Don't worry, I've washed my hair before coming here and made sure that there was nothing in my scalp. I guess that makes sense. Hilda sighed before taking the hair and gulping it down, gagging slightly at the taste of hair gel as she took a soda and chugged it down. Pfwa, so glad I only have to do this once. However, she soon felt the changes in her body, energy flowing everywhere as she tensed up slightly before relaxing. Izuku placing a hand on her shoulder to make sure she was all right. You okay? Yeah, I'm fine. What a rush. I feel stronger, faster. It seems the quirk agrees with you. Young Yakasani, All Might noted. However, it's best that you learn to control this power. After all, one can still injure themselves no matter how trained their body is beforehand. Hilda nodded. Makes sense to me. Unfortunately, I'm not the right person to be teaching you that. After all, I was something of a prodigy when using it for the first time. All Might admitted. Fortunately, I have a few friends who know OFA's secret and can help you understand how to use it best. Thankfully, I won't have to contact Gran Torino for this. All Might took out his smartphone and hit up a few contacts. After a while, 3 individuals showed up. The first was a beautiful woman with pale blonde hair and a purple diamond mark on her forehead. The second was an old man with a fit build, silver hair, and a bushy mustache. The third and final individual was someone Izuku knew very well. Uncle Shanks. Shanks Midoriya, the younger brother of Izuku's late father Hisashi, chuckled as he ruffled the green-haired boy's head. He was not an official pro-hero, always traveling with a crew of close friends helping people around the world. He didn't have a quirk, but he made it for it in a scarily powerful proficiency in hockey. How's it going, you little green bean? You still keeping that straw hat I gave you safe? Izuku beamed and nodded. Yeah, I'm thinking of having it be part of my hero costume when I go pro. So, this is the one you picked, huh? The woman said as she looked over Hilda. Gotta say, she seems like a good one. Could use a bit more meat on her bones, though. I actually agree, Sister Sage. Hilda beamed, recognizing the woman as Tsunade, Senju aka the combat medic hero, Sister Sage. I totally loved seeing you in action with All Might, Master Toad, and Serpent King. Tsunade laughed. Yeah, this girl's got quite a brain on her. I like it. The old man nodded as he looked at Izuku and Hilda. I heard from Rayleigh about 2 bright-eyed pupils of his with a natural talent for what he taught them. It pleases me to finally meet you both. Same here. Why your bang Silverfong, the martial arts hero who invented the water stream rock smashing fist. And you're quite well educated as well. I could see why Rayleigh saw so much potential in you. Bang chuckled. When I heard my cute little nephew had gotten the attention of All Might, I had to come over, Shanks said. Of course, I made sure to say hi to Inko first. This is going to be so cool. Hilda gushed as she turned to Izuku. Not just learning from All Might, but also red-haired Shanks, Sister Sage, and Bang Silverfong as well. I know. I really hope this isn't a dream. All Might chuckled at the two teens' enthusiasm. During this training, you both will be cleaning up this beach. It's been needed for some time anyway, so might as well kill two birds with one stone. The UA entrance exam is in 10 months, which should give us plenty of time to train you for what's to come. And I have just the way to bulk up. Hilda smirked to herself. Dagoba Beach was right at the edge of local ocean currents, picking up anything that got washed out to sea. Plenty of illegal dumpers took advantage of this. At one point in their training, Izuku and Hilda saw a hero that didn't take kindly to that. Whoa, it's Captain Planet. Captain Planet was a man who looked out for everyone and fought pollution of all kinds, not just the pollution one does to the environment, but also pollution done to people, such as drugs, abuse cases, and more. His quirk, Planeteer, allowed him to harness the powers of fire, water, earth, air, and heart for various effects. Now look at that Boy Scout go. Shanks chuckled. He's always got to make things out like a cheesy 80s kids cartoon. Hey, he gets the job done all the same. Tsunade smiled, watching as Captain Planet took out the dumpers, largely villains hired by factories who were using less than scrupulous methods. Just goes to show that not all evil in this world is centered on the superpower element, Bang noted. Villains aren't just people who commit crimes with quirks and tools. They're also those that use whatever means they can to hurt others for their own benefit. And then again, there are a few villains who aren't even really all that evil. To begin with, Hilda said as she bit into a chocolate bar. Indeed, some people only commit crimes because they're desperate for survival or acceptance. Tashinori sadly noted, a good hero has to know when a crime is considered justifiable and lessen the amount of force used to bring them in. Well, Hilda and I always wanted to be heroes to help others, Izuku admitted. Because if there's one thing I learned from my dad and a few famous heroes in history, it's that with great power comes great responsibility. Well said, my boy. Tashinori smiled. Heck yeah. Hilda cheered, taking a hard bite out of her chocolate bar. Sheesh. Dragging around a fridge is hard enough, but an extra 600 pounds is too much. Hilda panted as she finished pulling a whole refrigerator with All Might sitting on top of it. Nah, I lost weight. I'm only 500 pounds in this form now. All Might chuckled. Speaking of weight, you've been getting pretty big yourself, kid, Tsunade noted, poking Hilda's belly, making her giggle. Thanks to her constant binging, the once slim young woman had swelled up quite a bit in these past weeks. Her short shorts had ridden up, trying to contain the sizable layer of flab that was her stomach. It stuck out from the rest of her by nearly an entire foot, pushing out past her shirt and giving anyone around her a good look at the jiggling mass of chub. Of course, that wasn't to say the rest of her was lacking in growth. She'd gone up by at least 2 cup sizes since she'd started gaining, and her ass was looking much rounder than before. Laying beneath these bountiful buns were a set of thickened thighs, now double the size of their former selves. Even her arms seemed to have been affected, now sporting an entire layer of fat around themselves. Hilda, is there a reason you've been fattening up? Izuku asked, having also noticed his friend's weight gain. What? No way am I going to go around sporting crazy muscles like I'm jacked on steroids. Hilda laughed as she gave her stomach a few proud pats. I should look approachable as a hero. Fat Gum's got the right idea. After all, Shanks smirked. I think the real reason is because she found your secret stash. Izuku blushed at his uncle's teasing grin and looked away, his face steaming red as Hilda giggled. It was true. The other reason she was putting on the pounds was because she knew how much Izuku liked thicker girls. Then again, the cinnamon roll loved all kinds of girls, no matter what they looked like. The 10 months passed considerably. Thanks to Hilda's quirk, her health wasn't impeded by her weight gain, and she made sure to pack on just as much muscle as she did fat. But blubber was still the predominant tissue she wanted to show off. Additionally, Shanks would sometimes ambush Izuku and Hilda in order to teach them how to react to unexpected situations. Naturally, there were breaks for meals, sleep, and classes. Thanks to the effort Izuku and Hilda were putting in, Dagoba Beach was quickly becoming resort-worthy again. At one point, Izuku had brought up the possibility of hidden bodies, prompting Tashinori to call his friend on the force, Naomasit Sakachi, to investigate just in case. Fortunately, it seemed corpses were one thing no one was desperate enough to dump on the beach, so the training passed without incident. Hilda also incorporated her newfound bulk into harnessing, one for all. At first, she started using 5%, but as the 10 months went by, she made her way up to 10%. Man, I didn't know I'd be able to learn so much, Hilda said as she munched on some taiyaki with Izuku. Hilda was now at least triple the size she'd started at. Her body had grown, not just in weight, but in width, as if to accommodate her growth. Her stomach, which had already been round and flabby, had now expanded to become the largest part of her body. It stuck out nearly 3 feet and was now so large that it covered her crotch. Resting atop this enormous gut lay her breasts, which had undergone similar growths. No longer the flat size they'd once been, Hilda's bosom had blossomed into a beautiful rack. They were easily within the E-cup range by this point, and both were soft to the touch. It was safe to say that most of Hilda's weight had been distributed fairly evenly. Her breasts and belly were developing nicely, and her flabbier arms remained as firm and active as ever thanks to her training. But the newfound additions brought on by her weight, her bottom half had easily changed the most. Hilda's ass was absolutely massive, now large enough that each cheek more resembled massive globes than human cheeks. Her round, enviably enormous rear was supported by a set of glorious, tree-trunk-sized thighs, made all the more obvious whenever she so much as took a step. "Ah, you've been working up, girl, but in a good way." Tsunade laughed, slapping Hilda on the back as she grinned playfully in return before turning to Izuku. "Like what you see?" she playfully asked. "There's so much more of me to love now." "Why, yeah." Izuku blushed shyly, which made Tsunade coo in adoration. "You kids are so adorable, you know that?" Shanks chuckled as he ruffled Izuku's hair. "Still, you put in some good work." "Indeed, I'm honestly amazed," Tashinori admitted. "I only set aside a small area to clean, but you both cleaned up the entire beach. I can actually feel the ocean breeze, and there's fresh salt water hitting my nostrils instead of smog and rust." Bang said with content. "We've already sent your applications for UA," Tsunade said. "Don't worry, we got your parents' permission to do so. Just remember this when you take the exam next week," Tashinori advised. "There's a difference between being lucky and being deserving. Don't get the two confused. You kids go and enjoy yourselves. You've both earned a break." Shanks said, "I'll see you at home later, Izu?" Izuku smiled and nodded. "You got it, Uncle Shanks. Come on, let's go to Hanamura's diner," Hilda said, dragging Izuku along with a hungry glint in her eyes. Her appetite had increased with the rest of her body, but she was doing quite well in balancing her fat with muscle. "Why assure Hilda?" The Four Season pros watched the two teens leave with smiles on their faces before Tsunade turned to Tashinori. "So, who do you think will propose first?" "Let's not make assumptions like that." Shanks chuckled. "That boy's a lucky dog." "Of course there was that girl, Maifa. Love comes in many forms." Bang nodded. "Something tells me Izuku will love more than one wonderful girl in the coming months."